What's going on, guys? So I don't really post on YouTube anymore, but I'm going to start getting into it a little bit more. That is because I do a podcast. I talk about sports and I love talking about sports. I also do my own NFL content on TikTok, which I post every single week. You should follow me on there. So we are going to stick strictly to NFL in this video. We're going to talk about one thing that can hold back every NFL team from winning a Super Bowl. This is only playoff edition though, so I'm not going to be including the teams that are already eliminated. Let's go ahead and get on into it. Detroit Lions got to go with injuries. I mean, I think that's the only thing that can hold this team back, and I mean that because this team has been so dominant offensively this year. And them being so offensively dominant makes their defense even that much better, because then you have them going up 2-3 scores early on in the game, and that's predictable for the opposing team because you know how to game plan for that. You know what they're going to do. They're going to get pass happy. So yes, injuries have to be the main concern right now because defensively, this team is depleted. But man, it's still hard to slow them down. They're still easily the Super Bowl favorites. Minnesota Vikings, the opposing NFC North rival, gotta go with Sam Darnold in the playoffs. I just don't know what I'm going to see from him in the playoffs. I mean, he's playing great right now in the regular season. They've had a phenomenal year. Kevin O'Connell, 100% coach of the year. Jay Jettas, Jordan Addison, best wide receiver duo maybe. Brian Flores, defense, ballin'. Can Sam Darnold replicate this in the playoffs? I have no idea, but that has to be a concern going into winning a Super Bowl. Philadelphia Eagles, got to go with Nick Sirianni. Now, he's done a pretty good job this year, but have you noticed the trend with Sirianni is that he does really good when he just lets the offensive and defensive coordinators do their job, just coordinate the game. And we see when he doesn't do that, they get in trouble. We saw it last year in the collapse. Started 10-1, finished 11-6, got bulldozed by the Bucs in the playoffs. They were broken. So yes, if the Eagles don't win the Super Bowl, which they have a really good chance to do it this year if everything is clicking, and of course Saquon Barkley, Sirianni's going to be the sole purpose. They probably don't. Green Bay Packers. Now this is a tough one, but I got to go with situationally. There have been times in recent memory where Matt LaFleur hasn't been so great situationally. I think they have the roster to do it, but in a big playoff game on the road, which you're likely going to be in Philly or Detroit, you're going to have to go on the road and upset somebody on the road, and situationally in a close game, I don't know if they're going to be able to do that with Matt LaFleur. Los Angeles Rams, young defense. The Rams defense has looked a lot different this year with now future Hall of Famer Aaron Donald out of the picture. The defensive line has been great with Jared Verse up there. I think they've exceeded expectations given that they lost their defensive anchor. But again, now the defense is really young. They've had some games where they've got dominated in the time of possession, specifically the Eagles game. And I just think the young defense is going to hold them back from winning a championship. Washington Commanders, inexperience. I mean, this one's pretty obvious. You got a rookie quarterback, Jaden Daniels, who's phenomenal, by the way. But Washington hasn't been in a position like this in a very long time. It's not really likely that Jaden Daniels is going to go on a phenomenal run and carry this team to the Super Bowl. All right, moving on into the AFC. Kansas City Chiefs, got to go with scoring. So we know no matter how bad this team plays, they have that devil voodoo magic, kind of like the Patriots did in the early 2010s. But they like winning those grinded out type of games where they play good defense. They try not to turn the ball over, but even when they do, they still find ways to win games. But it's never a blowout. It's never a 30-plus point game. It's always going to come down the wire, and they're always going to have something that goes their way. So in the playoffs, if a Buffalo or a Baltimore or a Steelers can get a big lead on them, how will they respond? And I think they're going to have to score some points. Or maybe they're inevitable and they keep winning the same way that they've won all year and it happens in the playoffs. Buffalo Bills. This is probably another tough one, but I feel the same way as I feel kind of like the Green Bay Packers. Sean McDermott, situationally, don't know. Especially in a big playoff game against a Kansas City or a Baltimore. Buffalo also has a unfortunate history of losing close games in the playoffs, so situationally, Sean McDermott, I could see it happening. I think that can hold them back, but obviously, this is the most balanced team that Josh Allen has ever had. Baltimore Ravens, this is an easy one for me, but I'm going to go with getting away from their identity. And we know that's running the football with Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson, but they tend to go away from that in big games, and I don't know why. It happened in the AFC Championship last year. It happened in the game versus the Steelers earlier in the year, the first matchup. I mean, just look at all the games that the Ravens do lose. It tends to be when Lamar Jackson throws the ball more than 35 times a game. And it's not because Lamar can't throw the ball, because he's proven that he's a really good passer. But the Ravens' identity is establishing the run early, dominating the time possession, and that opens up the passing game for all these other receivers. It's not flashy, it's not sexy, but it finds a way to work. But again, look at the games that they lose. It's always when Lamar Jackson throws the ball 30, 35 times a game, 40 times a game. And that's because they get away from their identity. Houston Texans, 100% offensive line. This offensive line is absolutely horrific. CJ Stroud has played bad in moments because of it. And you could chalk it up as a sophomore slump. You can chalk it up as teams adjusting to how he played last year. And I get it. They lost Nico. They lost Stephon Diggs. Tank Dell now just had a horrible injury. But watching the Texans this year, that offensive line is going to hold them back to winning a championship. Los Angeles Chargers, wide receivers. This one speaks for themselves. I mean, Quentin Johnson can't catch a cold. Vlad McConkey's been great, but do they have the depth? Is someone going to step up in a big moment in the playoffs to help them move the offense? Herbert's been balling. He throws dots. He uses his legs. I mean, he's one of the best quarterbacks quarterbacks in the league. He does his job, but one of these wide receivers could ruin it for him. Pittsburgh Steelers, consistency. There are some games where they can score 30 plus and look really good, and then there's other games where they can only score 10 to 17. So the highs are highs, but the lows are also really low. Denver Broncos, not a good enough roster. Defensively, they're great, one of the best defenses in the league, but Bo Nix is a rookie. They don't have the best roster to compete for a championship. And that's going to be it. Be sure to leave a like on the video, subscribe for more, and let me know down in the comment section what your Super Bowl pick is. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one.